This is Gemara in Gittin Daf Chof Zayin, and we're holding on Chof Zayin Amar Aleph, the very top at the new Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, continuing the Gittin, continuing the get being transported from area to area. Ha-mevi get ve'avari menu. Someone's bringing a get and he loses it. Umatzai la'alter kosher. V'imlav pasul. Says the Mishnah, you find the get right away, it's kosher. If not, it is pasul. Matzah b'chafitza oibidoluskama. If you find the get in a certain utensil that you placed it in, as well it is kosher. Imamakiroi. Rashi explains that this imakiroi is a separate case. Imakiroi, if you recognize the actual get that you found, as well, kosher. So the Mishnah discussing lost gittin, and it teaches us if you found it right away, it's kosher. If you know the utensil that it's in, it's kosher. Or if you recognize it, it is kosher. Begins the Gemara, V'reminu, I'll ask you a contradiction. Someone finds a get isha, or a shtar shechur, Taitiki, which is the tzava, which is the commands of Ish Chimera, one on his deathbed, or Matanais V'Shavrim, he finds a gift document, or a receipt. What is the halacha? You should not return them. Why should you not return them? Shani Oimer, because I say we have to be concerned. Kesuvim Hayu, they were written, and the guy decided not to give them. So you found and you're going to return it to the person he could collect from it. But how could that be? It was never perhaps utilized. So says the Gemara, what's the obvious implication? Let's say the guy says, no, you should give it. Meaning, for example, if the guy says, yeah, I freed my Eved, give him that document. Then what's the halacha? Nice him. You give it to the Eved and we have nothing to be concerned about. Lizman Meruba. Even though quite amount of time after it was lost. So what's the kasha? Our Mishnah, and the same will be by a get. The husband says, yes, give it to my wife. I did divorce her indeed. We're going to listen. But our Mishnah said, only la'alter is kosher. Explains the Gemara. Amar Rabba lo kasha. Kam b'makayim sha'ashayarais mitzuyais. In a place where there's a lot of travel, then we have to be more worried. That's when our Mishnah said the din is possible, because maybe someone else dropped a similar item that you had. But if it's not travel common, then we do not have to be worried. And now the Gemara qualifies further. And even in a place that travel is common, but also we do not return it, meaning also when did the Mishnah say that l'achar zman you do not give it back? Ve'u is only if it's known that there's two people in the same place. So the Gemara says, qualifying the din in our Mishnah and answering the stira between our Mishnah and the Braisa, that when do we not return it? We don't return it if there's a lot of travel, number one, and it's known that there's two people with the same name. One of those reasons wouldn't be enough, and then we would, yes, return it. The Gemara proves this point. If you're not going to say this, kasha de Rabba, then we would have a stira in Rabba. Because there was a get, they found a get in the Bezdin of Ravuna of Avikasive, and this get was written, and it said on it, B'Shaviri Masa in town Shaviri Dalrachas Nahara, that was on the river. That is where this get was written. Ve'omer Ravuna, and Ravuna says, what's the halacha with this piece of paper? Chayshishin l'shnei Shaviri. We have to be worried that maybe there are two places with the same name. Ve'omer le Rav Chisda le Rabba. So now we have Rabba on the table. Amar le Rav Chisda Rabba. Rav Chisda tells Rabba, Paik, go out, vayin ba, and look into it. Tilurta ba'ila minach. Because in the evening, ba'ila minach, Ravuna's going to ask you what the story is. So Nafak, Rabba went out, Dak, he found v'ashkach l'tanan. Rabba went out, and he found the following Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Kol Maisa Bezdin, any act of Bezdin, Harei Ze Yachzir. Any act of Bezdin, Harei Ze Yachzir, is returned. So what is that? So what? V'ha-beidina de Ravuna. The Bezdin of Ravuna, meaning we're allowing to return this get, and the Bezdin of Ravuna is the Kimakom Sheishayarais Mitsuyois, is a place where travel is common dami. And yet, even though travel is common, he said you return it. Why do you return it if travel is common? Must be, and this is the raya, Alma, if travel was common, and there were two people that were known to have the same name, then the halacha is that you would not return the get lachar zman, like our Mishnah said. V'loi, but if it's not hochzak, if we don't know for sure there's two people with the same name, then even though it is makom sheishayaris mitzuyos, even though travel is common, still we would return the get as long as it's not hochzak that two people have the same name, and that is the raya to that which we just said. Continues the Gemara, 10 lines from the bottom. First one line is V'loi, Aved Rabba Ovda Bahu Gita. Rabba Paskin regarding a certain get, that was found in the flax house. We'll see what that means, of Pumbedisa. And what did Rabba Paskin? Kishmaitze, like Kishmaitza. So says the Gemara, what exactly is the raya? Some say some say that it was referring to the place where they soaked the flax. And what's the raya? And even though in that location it is common to have a lot of people, one more time. Even though that's an area that it was hochzak, they know two people have the same name, but the place where they soaked the flax, it wasn't common to have caravans, and therefore again, proving the din of Rabbah that one on its own would not be enough, and you have to return it if it's only one. Only when we have hochzak and would you not return it? Some say that the story was it was a place that they sold the flax. And it's referring to a place where it was not like they had two people with the same names, and yet, but still you can return the item. That is part number one within Rabbah, how we're proving his din. We had a stira from the Mishnah, Rabbah answered, and we proved it. Says the Gemara, Rav Zera had a very similar exchange to what we just said. Rav Zera is Rami Masnisa Abraisa. Rav Zera asked a stira from the Mishnah to a Braisa, Umishani, and he answered it. Again, we just said a stira from our Mishnah to another Mishnah, Matzah Gittin Nashim, and Rabbah explained the difference. Now, Rav Zera is saying something slightly a slight nuance. Rav Zera is asking from a Braisa to our Mishnah, and he's going to explain. Says the Gemara Tanan, it said in our Mishnah, maybe get, if someone brings a get when it's lost, Matzel alter kosher, vim lav basol. Viraminu asks Rav Zera 3 lines to the bottom, Astira. Matzel garisha bishok. You find a woman's get in the marketplace. Bisman shabal moide yachzer isha. Ein abal moide lo yachzer lo lezev lo lezev. If the husband does not admit, then we don't return it all, neither to the husband, not to the wife. So the Gemara says from here, what do we see? And there goes the page is flying. 1 second, I apologize. Bisman Shabal Moed, as we turn over to Chav Zayin Amid Beis, says the Gemara, what's the obvious implication? That in a scenario where the husband admits, what's the halacha? We're going to return it to the woman. So this is how Rav Zera asked from this brisa on our Mishnah. Because we see over here that even Lizman Meruba, seemingly if the woman admits to what's going on, what's the halacha going to be? The halacha is going to be, where the Baal admits, what's the halacha going to be? We're going to return this get to the Isha, if Lizman Meruba, not like our Mishnah taught. Umishani. And now Rav Zira answers similar to what Rabba answered a moment ago. Kan b'makayim shashayarayis mitzuyos. Kan b'makayim sheina shayaris mitzuyos. Says Rav Zira, the difference is whether travel is common. Ika diamri, some explain, v'hu shochziku. Hu delo dahader, v'hainu dirabba. Some say that Rav Zira explained that when it also needs that it was hochzak, two people with the same name, then he's saying the exact same din as Rabbah, that what? When do we not return a found get? If it's both hochzak, that two people have the same name, and sheyasharis mitzuyos, v'ikidi amri, and some explain no. Af al gav de loy hochzak, even if it's not hochzak, loy lahadar, we would not return it once here is shchichi shayarta, once the caravans are coming. Upliga de Rabba. And then Rav Zira will be arguing on Rabba. So two different ways of learning the teretz of Rav Zira. Says the Gemara, Bishlama de Rabba Lamek Rav Zira. I understand that Rabba doesn't say like Rav Zira. Why? Mas Nisan. Because it's better to ask from a Mishnah. Rav Zira asked from a Brisa. Says Rabba, it's a stronger question when you ask from a Mishnah. Elo Rav Zira. And I mean, if you need an explanation, you look at Rashi, in the last wide line at the top of the Amud. Rashi says, Denu Rama Adadi, you must eat an acre, mi Brisa. It's always better to ask from Mishnah. He says it's more focal, it's more of the main than the Brisa. Ella Rav Zira asked the Gemara, my time Rabba, we can't understand. Why is Rav Zira not say like Rabbos? Amr Lacha, Rav Zira responds, Mika Tani Im Amar Tenu Noistim Afiluz Mameruba. This din that Rabba's going on, the din that if it is man meruba, we would return it, was not said explicitly in the Mishnah. And it was only a dia, because only an implication. Says Rav Zira, how do you know it's true? Tell me Amar Tenu Noistim. Maybe if he says, the Mishnah that we asked on our Mishnah, did it say if you said Tenu given? No, we were implied that. Says Rav Zira, maybe implication is wrong. Only la'alter. But rather, when Rav Zira asks on the Brisa, it's more explicit. So two different ways to learn whether Rav Zira is agreeing with Rabbah. And furthermore, the reason Rav Zira disagrees with how he asks the question on Rabbah, because the Brisa is indeed more explicit than the Mishnah we are quoting. Rav Yirmiyah Amar, says Rav Yirmiyah, a new way of explaining. You know the reason why in the Brisa we return the get afilu lizman meruba, or in the other Mishnah they return the get afilu lizman meruba, not like our Mishnah, because the Eidim said we only signed on one get with Yosef and Shimon, so there's no concern. He says the Gemara, Ma'ilem Emra, Givaldik, what's the Chiddush? That's obvious. Explains the Gemara, Ma'u Detemi, not the Chiddush is, I would have thought, Lechash Doma Esrami, Shema Kishma, Veidim Keidim. Maybe we have to be concerned one step further. Not only are two people have the same name, maybe there's another set of Eidim that have the same name. Kamash Malan, that we are not worried about that. Rav Ashi Amar, says Rav Ashi another teretz. You know what? When we return the get, even after a long time, when you have a simin, you say there was one little hole in the side of a certain word. Tavalei simin muvak. It's an excellent simin. Now comments the Gemara, what type of simin is on the discussion? We said simin muvak. So explains the Gemara, vidavka. The only time you return the get based on a simin is b'sadai's plainis. Tavalei simin muvak is if the get is in a specific letter, the dot, so therefore that's a very good simin. However, aval nika v'al malai, if he just says, oh yeah, I remember that the piece of paper had a hole in it, loi, that would not be enough. Says the Gemara, Misavkale simanim idaraisa idarabanan. We're not sure. We just said that we could return this get based on a siman, but we said it has to be a siman muvak. So says the Gemara, we're not sure if the reason why you need a siman muvak is because simanim are daraisa or not. We don't have necessarily a proof based upon that. Continues the Gemara, Rabbi Achana erchas like Gita be midrasha. Rabbi Achana lost his get in the base medrash. Amar, and he announced, Isi mana isli begavei. If you want a siman, I have a siman to identify my get. Itvias eina isli begavei. And if you want, I have a tvias eina, which is a familiarity. I understand that this is actually my get, not because of a specific siman. I just know that it's mine. Says the Gemara, Ahajani alei. So you turn the paper to him. Amar and Rabbi Barachana said, Lo yadana. It's not clear. Did they return it to me? Else the simin that I said I could identify it because savri simanim daraisa, and they hold simanim daraisa. That's what they gave to you based on the simin. Or says Arachana, maybe maybe they gave it to me because I said I have a familiarity with it. I understand that it's my get. I have a tviyas eina. And then what's the nafkamina? Who cares? It would only be returned to him because he is a Surmei Rabbanan that has a special higher level of credibility, nemanis, to say that they know that this is their paper even without a particular simin. Aval inish bi alma loy, but a regular person we do not necessarily know. So says Rabbi Chana, I don't know the reason they returned it to me. And we continue, v'im lav basel. We're about 12 lines to the bottom, the two dots. Says the Gemara, Vim lav basal tan rabbanon. In the Mishnah said, if you return it la'alter, it's good. If it's not la'alter, it's not good. The question is la'alter. It's a very broad term. What is the word la'alter? What does the word immediately mean? Tan rabbanon eizeu shalei la'alter. What does that mean, Rav Nasan Aimer? We can have a bunch of qualifications. What is called not immediate, what is called that it was a long time elapsed. Rav Nasan Amar sheshah kitei shetavar sheyara v'sheyarta v'tishra. The amount of time for a caravan to pass by and to set up camp and to chill there. Shebin elazar Aimer kitei sheyei adam oimid v'rayish lever shamadam. The amount of time that a person could stand there and know that no one passed by. A third opinion, Shlosha Adam Sham, no one actually delayed over there. Rav Ami Amar, a fourth opinion, K'tei Lichtov as they get, the amount of time to write a new get. Rav Yitzchak Amar, a fifth opinion, K'tei Likroisai, the amount of time to read the get. Acherim Aimrim, a sixth opinion, K'tei Likoisai v'Likroisai, to write it and read it. Write it and read it. Says the Gemara, those are all the times, what is called not la'alter, that we will not return the get. But now, comments the Gemara v'afilu shah v'yesh by simanim. If he did shah, if it was not la'alter, it was yes zman meruba, which we said you don't return it. But comments the Gemara 4 lines to the bottom. But if you have a simin, then me'idin alav, you could testify about your simin and get it back. Damrina nekev yishos ois b'sad yakev yesh by b'sad ois plainis. However, it has to be a good simin. Vein me'idim, don't testify al simani agof on the body of the get, on the paper itself. Damrin arach v'got, it's short or it's wide. That's not going to be enough for a siman to get the get back. Finally, we conclude matzakasher kis ba'arniki. Let's say you found the get tied onto a wallet or a ubit tabas, or you found it tied onto a ring. Oisha matzah ben kelav, and as we turn over to chav chesam and aleph, or you found the get tied up. Not tied up. You found the gap between your kelim. In all these cases, afilu lizman meruba, it's going to be kosher. Itma Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel concludes the Gemara. Halacha shah adam sham, person doesn't delay there. Rabbi Chana Amar Rav Yitzchak Bar Shmuel halacha shlei avar shah adam sham, person didn't pass by there. Says the Gemara, Leima Mar halacha gemar, Omar halacha gemar. Why are they restating what the opinions were? Why don't they just say, I pass like this Amar and I pass like that Amar? Says the Gemara, because the names were switched around for them, so it wasn't clear who held what. So instead they explained their actual shita. Finally, if you find the get in a box, says the Gemara, my chafitza, amar chana chamas ketana, a small flask, a canteen, my deluskama, talika desabi, a box that elderly people use to hold all their things. And that's what the Mishnah said. If you find it in these specific areas, it's going to be kosher because you can recognize that it is yours. We'll pick it up from the Mishnah in the next shir.